Hello, my name is Ron Stanko, and this video will demonstrate loose tube cable midspan access for splicing. This procedure assumes that sufficient cable slack is available and is not intended for taut line access. Cable access and splicing must be performed by personnel who are trained and familiar with handling optical fiber cables, cable components, and splicing accessories. Materials required: measuring tape, China marker, aramid shears, diagonal cutters, needle nose pliers preferably with rounded edges, cable snips, rotary cable slitter, fiber tube scorer, hook blade razor knife, lint-free wipes, Regent grade 99% alcohol, safety glasses, and gloves. Proper safety requirements should always be followed and local practices maintained. It is recommended that the installer wear protective eye gear and gloves during many of the installation steps to avoid possibility of bodily injury. Determine the location of the cable where the splice point is to be located. Adjust the cutting depth of the rotary cable slitter to approximately 90% of the jacket thickness. Ring cut the jacket at the approximate midpoint of the intended splice location. Flex the cable slightly at the cut to complete the opening of the jacket. If necessary, adjust the cutting depth and repeat the process until the jacket or armor is completely cut through. Ring cut the jacket approximately 2 inches from the previous cut. Adjust the cutting depth and repeat this process until the jacket or armor is completely cut through. With a cable knife or utility razor, cut the jacket or armor longitudinally between the two ring cuts. Cut completely through the jacket. Pry the jacket open at the cut and remove the cable core. If a second armor exists, repeat the same process. Locate a ripcord below the jacket or armor at the end of the cable. There will be 1 or 2 ripcords, typically yellow, blue, orange, or red, depending on the cable type. Using aramid shears, cut the ripcords in the middle of the opening. Using diagonal cutters, cut a notch in both exposed ends of the jacket next to the ripcords. Using round edge needle nose pliers, grab one end of the ripcord and wrap it around the plier jaws. With the ripcord in the notch created in the previous step, continue rotating the pliers, winding the ripcord around the plier's jaws. After pulling the ripcord with this method for 3 to 4 inches, it may be more efficient to grab the pliers in a T-handle fashion with the ripcord between your fingers and then pull along the length of the cable. Continue until the ripcord has been pulled to approximately 12 inches. Peel back the jacket material to expose the cable core. For single ripcord cables, gently pull the cable core through the opening created by the ripcords. Do not exceed the cable's minimum bend radius. Using the aramid shears or cable snips, carefully cut the yarns covering the cable core at approximate midsection of the exposed core. Locate the switchback point of the buffer tubes. If necessary, use the ripcords to expose more of the cable core until the switchback point is revealed. Depending on the cable design, distance between switchback points can be between 24 and 41 inches. The switchback point is now the new center of the splice location. Determine the length of the cable to be stripped according to the manufacturer's recommendation for splice and termination system utilized. Measure and mark the recommended length of the cable centered around the switchback point located during the previous step. Using the final cutting depth determined previously, ring cut the jacket at the marks and flex the cable slightly to complete the opening of the jacket at both locations. If the cable has multiple jackets, they must be removed in order and repeating as necessary. Locate a ripcord below the jacket or armor and slit the cable from the ring cut to ring cut. If 2 ripcords exist under the jacket, repeat for the second ripcord and split the jacket. Remove the jacket material between the ring cuts to expose the cable core. For single ripcord cables, gently pull the cable core through the opening created by the ripcord. Do not exceed the cable's minimum bend radius. With aramid shears, cut off strength yarns, ripcords, and other materials covering the tubes, leaving about 12 inches of each from the end of the jacket. Using a cable knife or utility razor, cut the helically applied binder yards at approximately 3-inch intervals. Remove the binder yards from the cable to within 3 inches of the jacket on both ends. Make additional cuts in the binder yards if necessary. Beginning at the switchback point, carefully unwind and separate the buffer tubes from the core one at a time. Be careful not to kink the tubes during handling. If the tubes are covered with filling gel, clean them with the appropriate gel remover. If necessary, Cut any remaining yarns or strings wrapped around the core of the central strength rod. It may be necessary to remove some outer coating off the strength member in order for the strength member to fit into the closure strength member bracket. Do so by using a hook blade knife and removing 1 to 2 inches of the outer coating. If the cable is armored, bond the armor of each end of the cable to an approved ground via suitable bond clamps or shield connector. To break out the fibers from the buffer tubes, use the appropriate size buffer tube shaver or slitter and follow the manufacturer's instructions. Remove fibers from the buffer tube. Use dry, lint-free wipes to remove the buffer tube gel from the exposed fibers. Prepare and splice fiber per the instructions of the applicable splice equipment manufacturer. Store fiber splice and excess fiber in splice tray. For superior Essex closure information and installation procedures, please visit our website. Under the Resources tab, you will find installation guidelines and videos for superior Essex optical fiber splice closures.